Back at it again with another one. It is the 6th of October, and we are seeing something we haven't seen since around about 2018-ish time. Since 2018-ish time. US government is currently shut down, as you can see. We're currently on forexfactory.com. Shout out to them. Free resource I use to get my economic calendar. Use them if you must. Um, I'm not getting promotion from them. It's just an honest opinion, but they're super cool. And as you can see up top, it says US government data may be impacted by the shutdown. Tentative events are subject to delay, revision, or cancellation. And as you can see from last week's calendar, on the Friday, we were supposed to get NFP, but that didn't happen. Due to the fact that the government that side's being shut down, certain details are being delayed. And you'll see just now as I click on the more option over there. Looking at this current week, it's the 6th going into this week now. A few of those items, the tentative ones, those are from last week that are now being brought into this current week here. And you can just see that from Thursday moving forward, it's a bit shaky. We don't know whether we'll be getting the unemployment rate, the NFP figures, the average hourly earnings figures, or even the employment claims figures. So on my side, I'm definitely leaning more towards the cautious side from Thursday and Friday. To be honest with you, I might not even do anything on those 2 days. I was lucky enough to catch something today. I'll try my luck again tomorrow. Then tomorrow, Wednesday, AM session, you'll just have to be careful. That's personal opinion. And then, of course, probably after the FOMC meetings come out, meeting minutes come out, something that's worthwhile will come about. But that's obviously in the second half of the New York session on Wednesday. These times that you see here are currently in SA Standard Time. 8 p.m. SA Standard Time is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just do your due diligence and convert accordingly from there. So, looking at the economic calendar, of course, today is the 6th. There was no US news driver event. Usually, I don't trade Mondays without US news drivers, but since we are looking at very weird times, I took a look and something very nice came about. Something very nice came about. So I'll just start the analysis on the daily time frame. I'll just make it a bit more complete. Go straight to the weekly, just to give that context. Looking at I don't know what's going on here. Cool. Look at the weekly time frame. We've got the Nasdaq and we've got the ES. So you can see with Nasdaq we struck last week's high today. It's Monday, and with ES we are yet to do that. So automatically or already you should be able to see that divergence between the highs. These two assets or charts are closely correlated. They tend to move in the same direction, but there are some times where they don't really move in the same direction. Times like today where you can see that divergence, that if you know what you're looking for, you can find something very nice. So we're done with the context weekly time frame. On the left hand side, that's Nasdaq. On the right hand side, that's S&P 500. Down on the weekly, going to the daily one now. Just going down quickly, taking a look at it. You can see the daily time frame on the Nasdaq one. That's on the left hand side. We've got that order block there, fair value gap as well. On Friday, we reacted, and of course, it reacted bullishly. So when you're comparing the two off rip, you can see already that Nasdaq is stronger. ES, it's a bit weaker. We haven't yet taken out last week's high. Still on the way there, but so far, that's the current situation. Going down to a 4 hourly now. Okay, there's a lot going on there, whatever, cool. But like zooming in, I was comparing um Friday's the price movement from the highs made on Friday and the highs made today. So you can already see we have a lower high forming today versus on Nasdaq it made a higher high. Just further showing that Nasdaq is more stronger than what ES is doing. Then I'll take it down to an hourly time frame. Going down to an hourly time frame, let me just rather do it the 15. Going down to 15 on both ES and both Nasdaq, the first thing you can just pay attention to is the highs there. So we're comparing the highs from the session on Friday, that's the 3rd of October on NASDAQ, and we're doing the same with the ones with ES. ES, you can see it printed a lower high, whereas NASDAQ printed a higher high. When I saw that, I also saw or noticed we have a gap there. We gapped up to start the week off. It's quite a large gap on the ES, not so much on the Nasdaq, but on the ES you can see we gapped up, pushed up to the upside. Before price sold off, I noticed that this imbalance there, let me just zoom in. You can see that imbalance over there. I don't want to make the chart too messy, but just to show you with this purple box, you can see that price didn't really, you can see how it's wicking. It didn't want to go past that area. So already that sets the stage for a bearish movement. And when I was looking at it, we were basically forming this candle here, this movement to print towards the upside. That's what I was looking at the time. And then when you further break this fractal down, this particular one over there, we had the high, the low, higher high. We went down, we took out the low, opened that fair value gap. The entry point or the area that I was looking at for entry was that purple box. That was my trade. Purple box, enter there, then just ride this thing short all the way down to that gap over there. And that was the situation for the day. Based off of the fact that NQ took out its previous weekly high, ES did not. We got the SMTs on the highs. We had a draw or an inefficiency below where price was. That would make sense for us to have a target. And then between the two, since the target or the draw was below price, it would make sense to sell the one that is showing signs of weakness, which in this case, that was ES. Printed the lower high, had the structure, and then we sold off. Whereas Nasdaq was showing strength, and you can see when you compare the Nasdaq chart to the ES chart, on the Nasdaq chart, that gap exists round about there, but you can see that we didn't even make an attempt to go towards that. Whereas with ES, we melted all the way down, just hit the high of that gap there, and then proceeded to move to the upside. So it's two things, just to take note of the SMT or the divergence between the two charts that move similarly together. Second thing is just to have a draw that is high probability, of course, and then just use everything in the right context. And Bob's your uncle. So that's the situation today. Nothing crazy. And I just wanted to put this in video for next time, of course. I was mainly looking at the NASDAQ, of course, and then I forcefully sold this as well. Yes, I took profits, but it didn't even take me close to where I was anticipating because I was expecting it to get down to there. But ES was more willing to go down to its new week opening gap. So just for future reference, if I'm bullish, it makes more sense to, pardon me, it makes more sense to buy the chart that's showing strength if I'm bullish. It makes more sense to sell the chart that shows weakness if I'm bearish. And today, that weaker chart was ES, lower high as opposed to the high high on NQ. NQ on the daily time frame, we were reacting off of a daily key level. ES, not so much. We had draws both in each chart on a lower or beneath where price was. But since ES was weaker and the structure was showing signs of weakness, we took the short, and that's that on that. Productive day, productive day, and we'll see what else is going to happen for the rest of the week. Like I've mentioned, I'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll take something if it is presented to me, of course. And yeah, Wednesday will be Wednesday, but Thursday, Friday, definitely let's stray on the side of caution. But other than that, thank God for the skill and stay safe.